So here it is. This is the X5 camera for the Inspire 1. I bought this about 2 weeks ago. It arrived 2 weeks ago when I got back from holiday, and the weather has been absolutely atrocious ever since I got back, so I haven't had a chance to fly it. Yesterday, finally managed to get it up in the sky for about 10 minutes, although it was incredibly windy. I think it was gusting around 30-35 miles an hour. So I just hovered it basically down the beach, didn't go much more than 10 meters high. As soon as I did try and go above the houses, when the wind was whipping over, it tended to really start shaking the drone about. So I kind of left it at that, but I just wanted to see how the gimbal worked, how it fared, especially in strong winds. So it's kind of a good thing, really. I tested it in the winds. I wanted to see how it would handle it, see if it's as good as the X3. Now on this camera, I've got the Olympus Zuiko f2 12mm lens. So it's effectively a 24mm lens on the Inspire 1, but so that actually makes it a bit wider than the X3. So the first thing I noticed was it's a lot narrower than the X3. So maybe for some jobs the X3 is good. So you've got a good wide angle of view. For more professional shots, I think this is a really cool lens, very, very good. So basically, before I show you the footage of yesterday, I wanted to show you something that I've noticed with the X5 whenever I've put it on and started the whole thing up. I'm actually going to turn the controller on there, and I'm going to load this onto the actual the Inspire 1 now. Take the cap off. Now when you're actually putting this on, there's a clip that goes in. Once you've got the new mount on, you have to put the clip in first and then put it up into place, lock it down, hold it, and then pull it across to lock. So that's now secure, I hope. Let's have a look. Yep, so it goes in at the back and it's secure there. The lock's now done in place. So as you can see, the X5 is now underneath the camera. Obviously it's this isn't turned on, the Inspire isn't turned on, so it's just all a bit kind of flopsy as it normally is. But what I've noticed is if I load the app, that's a snooker game, don't want to do that. So if I go into the DJI app and then turn all this on, what you'll notice is that this will go through all its calibration, but then it will just go limp again. So if we start that up, let's go into camera. Don't want the tutorial, thanks. We've upgraded the firmware as well. So if I can go into the app, which we are now, I'm going to turn the Inspire on, and you will see the X5 will go through its normal calibration process. So you see it starts moving about there. Does everything the X3 does, it'll just work its way around. You can see the camera on there working doing its thing, but you can see there, gone limp again. So it's completely gone back to pre-calibration, if you like. Now if we leave that for a while, it takes maybe a couple of minutes to actually, for some reason it goes limp again. Then once it's done all its checking and everything, it will actually go back to being a stable gimbal again. It's very, very strange. Now it's not because I'm indoors and I haven't got GPS or anything. It actually happened all the times I've tried it outdoors as well. I've actually taken the gimbal out to the whole Inspire out without propellers on like this and just filmed outside to see what it's like. And like I said yesterday, we actually went up in the sky about 10 meters, did some filming of the sea, just to some houses, just to try and gauge how sharp the lens is, how easy it is to operate and focus from the sky. And the same thing happened there. Even when we had about 18 satellites locked on, it still did this. So I'm hoping on camera it's going to reset itself in a minute. You can see we've got the app. It's just been upgraded to the latest version. There wasn't any problems when flying. What I did notice, it was incredibly windy yesterday. The gimbal held really well, but obviously you saw some movement as the Inspire was actually moving about the sky. At one point I just literally let it hang where it was, and it was actually moving about the sky, but you'll see that in some of the footage. But overall, I was actually really impressed with the camera and the lens. The lens is very, very good. The Olympus Zuiko lens is very good. And I think some of the problems people have been having is with the focus issue and with the f-stops and things like that. People are used to the camera doing everything for you. This is pretty much like it used to be with point and shoot cameras and then moving on to DSLR. Point and shoot would do everything for you. DSLR, you needed to do more work. So with the X3 on the Inspire 1, it was pretty much like a point and shoot. You only had f2.8, you only had a wide angle lens, and everything, oh, there you go, it's just locked in again. So you can see now it's properly stable. So you can see now the gimbal is working properly, but it took a couple of minutes of me waffling for it to do that. So just be aware, I'm not sure if yours is like that. If it is, please let me know. I'm not sure if it's just the firmware I've got at the moment or something, but I find that a little strange. But once it's now locked in, it's okay. So I've got a low power warning on the battery. It's at 30%, that's fine. But you can see now the gimbal is working, but I just wanted to make that make you understand that that's what could happen when you buy an X5. But I really would like to know if anyone else has an X5 that does the same thing as that. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to speak to DJI and see if that's normal for the gimbal to do that. First of all, calibrates, goes solid, then goes limp, then it calibrates again and goes back to being a proper gimbal. So with that in mind, like I said, the actual camera and the lens I think are fantastic. It appears that the footage I've got is very sharp, it's very stable, it's very good. Like I said, it's just a narrower field of view, but we're going to have a look at the footage now and some photos in 4K, and you can make your own mind up. Okay, so this first clip we're just about to take off. No great videos here, just wanted to make sure I can get the X5 in the sky and make sure that the Inspire's firmware updates all happened okay. Do a few test maneuvers before kind of doing anything else, just to make sure the gimbal's working and it's holding steady, and that the Inspire's actually still okay to fly. Yeah, I really wanted to test the dynamic range of the cameras, and it works pretty well. I was pretty happy with it, and the footage looks pretty clear so far. So yeah, it's not doing too bad. Then we turn around to film some buildings to try and get a gauge of the sharpness of the actual camera. And again, you can see it's fairly low light. I was on auto exposure here, so the exposure tends to fluctuate a bit as I turn from light to dark. So to counter that, what you need to do is hit the the exposure lock button whenever you're flying, so you can lock that exposure in. You don't get fluctuations in the video. But yeah, I wanted to rise up, and as I rose above the buildings, the wind really hit me. We were getting some serious gusts, and you can see it moving slightly, but that's again because we got a 24mm lens, or a 12mm lens equivalent to 24mm, as opposed to the much wider X3 lens. So any movement on the Inspire due to wind is going to show up a bit more. You can see I focused there by tapping the screen on the iPad. So whenever you're filming, you can always adjust the focus just to make sure you've got it nailed. And you can see in a minute that I do it and it doesn't capture your focus properly. So you have to be absolutely sure that when you've tapped the screen, focus is locked and the picture is sharp. I'm sure a lot of people have messed up there and actually not got it looking perfectly good. But at the moment, this doesn't look too bad at all. Throughout this, I'm going to flick from, as you may have seen already, I'm actually going to flick from edited footage from the natural footage. So just to give you an idea of natural footage as opposed to something that's been slightly sharpened and slightly worked on with regards to levels. But here you can see I was on an aperture of something like f5.6, I think, which is my favourite aperture. And with that lens, it's managed to hold focus from the front and the back. And taking into account the laws of getting the focal length right, you don't focus on the nearest point, you don't focus on the furthest point, you focus somewhere in the middle, and that will actually hopefully get you good sharpness throughout the actual image. It's all to do with different types of focusing and different ways of focusing, because we've got a radically different lens here, and we can stop the aperture right down on sunny days. So you can see there we actually got some fluctuation in the exposure due to being on auto exposure. So at some point I actually locked the exposure in and carried on from there. But yeah, like I was saying, you can actually bring the aperture right down to f16 or f8, and that will hopefully lock in a much sharper image. But f5.6 here, I think I kept it on ISO 100. It looks pretty good. This is 4K at 25 frames a second. There is some jolting. I think the shutter speed was on something like 100, which is possibly a bit fast. You want it somewhere around 50th. Double the actual frame rate, so 25 frames a second, 50th of a second will actually work and give you slightly smoother footage. Of course, you can film at 1080 and 60 frames a second and get super smooth footage, but again, this was literally just to get the thing in the air and make sure I can get some sharp shots, because I was a little bit concerned about what I'd seen on the internet. There I am. I think I tapped focus on myself just to make sure I'm actually in focus. Just hovering it above the beach, wasn't doing anything crazy, just literally trying to get it out there. No flying up and down. It's literally hovering 10 meters off the ground, turning around, making sure I could film certain things just to make sure the sharpness is there and the stability of the X5 is there. And to be honest, I was pretty happy. Here, hovered it looking out to sea, and you can see the horizon's gone slightly off tilt. So I had to adjust it back, and it was just one stop back to the left to get it to go perfectly straight again. So I was doing the sideways there, and there you see it just clicks in, and we've got a stable horizon again. So it needs more testing to see if that actually goes off kilter a bit. The more you fly and the stronger the winds. So again here, checking out the dynamic range, it's not too bad. We've got apparently 12.8 stops, I think it is. So you've got a good distinguish between the light and darks in the shot. Again, I'm on auto there, so you can see it lightening as it goes round. So again, if you can, just push it onto exposure lock whenever you've got your shot lined up. Tap focus, tap exposure lock, lock everything in. Then for that particular sequence you're going to get some good shots. But yeah, pretty happy so far. It looks pretty sharp. Again, just hovering, you can see there focus went. I tapped on the focus and I lost it, so I had to tap again to make sure I've got it. So it's vital that if you're doing important shots that you actually get that and make sure that it's looking good on your screen. So yeah, again, when it's sharp it looks pretty good. Yeah, didn't do too much flying, like I said, just to make sure that I was actually getting some half decent footage. I got 11 minutes out of this battery, which is the TB48 5700 mAh. I think I could have got 13 minutes. I did start flying at 95%, and I landed at 30%. So, really I could have got maybe 12, 13. And if it wasn't so windy on a nice sunny day, calm conditions, maybe get 14, 15 minutes off the 5700 mAh. So, pretty happy just coming into land here. So, I hope that helps with regards to footage. It's just important to remember that this isn't a fully auto camera. You've got focus to deal with, you've got different apertures to deal with and different ISOs. So it's more like having a DSLR in the sky. So just be aware, practice on the ground if you feel like it before taking off. But I think the X5 looks pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with it. Just show you a couple of photos here. This is from a JPEG. And the next shot you're about to see is edited from RAW, and you can see it keeps the sky details really nice. I'm actually quite impressed with the quality of the camera. 16 megapixels, does a lot better than the X3, and I'll be quite happy using that to work with clients to actually take photos as well as stills from the sky. And then you can see on this next shot we did the same again. Just took this is the JPEG. I can't get the RAW on here because it won't accept it in Sony Vegas, but that's the JPEG and that's the RAW taken from it. And you can see we do lose a little bit of the edges when you're shooting in RAW, because a JPEG for some reason is slightly wider. But overall, I was really happy with the way the JPEGs came out. Again, I reckon they'll be a lot better on a nice bright sunny day, but overall I think I'm pretty happy so far with the X5 Pro. So, if you've got one, happy flying.